I'm Mark Wallig. I've been coming up to Greer for the last 16 years, and I'm glad to be invited again to speak here on the 4th of July ceremony. We're going to be talking about our original flags, the first several flags that our nation had. And it's an interesting history. You know, back in the colonial days, there really were no flags except the British flag. And it's represented here in the top corner of the flag here on my right. And it was pretty limited in how it was used, in that it was not allowed for private citizens to fly the national flag or the ensign or the military flag. You hear the word ensign used a lot because those are the kinds of flags that were used on ships. And they were probably more important than the flags that flew on land. Now, around the time of the Revolution, the revolt against the British, there were many private flags because people had ships, right? And they had to have some identification on them. The most common, if you can imagine this flag here, the British emblem at the top, and an all red field represented merchant ships. A white field with the same emblem was the British naval ships, and the blue ones were for special organizations or people on special missions, like a historical society or the Sea Cadets, that kind of thing. There are many versions of the British flag as well, and because we were loyal citizens of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, the flag flew over our country for quite a while, almost 150 years. But at Lexington and Concord, our first engagement in the Revolution in April 19th of 1775, there were a few flags in use, but really there was no flag at that time. Now our first flag is the one that I'm showing here, with the British emblem at the top and the red and white stripes, because we were still loyal to Great Britain, but wanted a better deal with them. We wanted local control. We wanted to vote on our own taxes. You know, the representation, taxation without representation was a big slogan in that day. This is really made up of three flags. Up at the top corner, which we call the canton, you can see a blue flag with a white cross. This is the flag of St. Andrew, the patron saint of Scotland. And then you see a red cross with a border of white. They cut out a white flag with a red cross so you could see both of them at the same time. So this is the flag of the Union of Great Britain, of Scotland, and England. Now the red and white stripes come from a various number of places, but some people believe it was from the organization called the Sons of Liberty, which was a radical organization that was a secret society that was banned by law, who were plotting revolution against the British. And so this flag is called the Grand Union flag. And it was adopted by our Continental Congress in December of 1775 and was our national flag until June of 1777. So the revolution had been going on for 2 years, but we were using a flag that had a very noticeable British part to it. It was also called the Continental Colors, because as we say, you know, salute the colors and other slogans like that, particularly in the military. Now this flag is interesting because it's also very similar to the flag of the British East India Company. And so the same British emblem, the same red and white stripes, but they were only allowed to use this flag in the Indian Ocean. The British were very strict about their flags and how they could be used. It's interesting to note that the Boston Tea Party that was organized by the Sons of Liberty in Boston, they raided a British East India ship and threw the tea overboard. Now, Ben Franklin was noted for objecting to this flag because it was too similar to the British East India Company. Now, the second flag I want to talk about is the one here on the far side here. And you can see that it has 13 stars in a blue field and the 13 stripes. These were to represent the new states, and it was created on June 14, 1777. That is what we call today Flag Day, which is a flag came from a representative from New Jersey to the Continental Congress by the name of John Hopkinson. And the Congress on June 14, 1777, passed the following resolution. Resolved that the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. And you can see that the stars are arranged in a pattern of 3, 2, 3, 2, and 3. It's noted that that particular flag has a bit of controversy behind it because it's uncertain whether the flag had stars of 6 points or the 5 that you see here. It's interesting also that the argument for the 6-pointed star came from George Washington's personal command flag, which was a blue field with 13 6-pointed stars in arrangements similar to this. Now, our third flag that I want to talk about is the one in the middle. And it's interesting about this flag, because we call it the Betsy Ross flag, that there's more legend to the flag than fact. Now, the flag was definitely used because, as you remember from the resolution, 13 stars in a new constellation. There was quite a bit of variation in the flags that were used because people would put the stars any place in the blue field, in a circle with a central star representing the United States as a whole, just scattered all over the flag, or made in the shape of all the stars as if they were a star themselves. And so there's quite a bit of variation going on, but I want to point out once again that Betsy Ross flag was never an official flag of the United States, in spite of the fact that we recognize this flag as really the flag of the Revolution, representing the colonial days. It's probably the most recognized flag other than our national flag that you'll see on the 4th of July. Now, the legend is that it was created by Betsy Ross because she was visited by George Washington and 2 other people from the Congress to sew a flag for the United States. Betsy Ross was one of about 26 flag makers in Philadelphia, but she was also an upholsterer, so she had a business that made all kinds of things like tents, and is believed that she tailored George Washington's uniform. The controversy was that there's no official record in the records of the Continental Congress or of the United States congressional record that this flag was ever created or requested or paid for. And really, Betsy Ross's flag wasn't really recognized until her family in 1870 filed a lawsuit to have her flag declared official. That never happened. And as I said, this was not our official flag, but this one is our first official national flag. This flag is very important to the 4th of July because it flew over Fort McHenry that protected the harbor of Baltimore. And the British were attacking that fort, and a fellow by the name of Francis Scott Key went to the British on one of their ships to plead that the city be saved. Well, the British held him as a prisoner, and while he was on that ship, he watched the battle from a distance as the rockets' red glare and the bombs bursting in air flew over the fort and illuminated this flag. Now the actual Stars and Stripes was a humongous flag, probably the size of a football field. And so it could be seen easily. And while Key was imprisoned on that ship, he wrote a poem. The poem called The Star-Spangled Banner. Today it is the song that we sing as our national anthem. Now this particular flag was our national flag, our second official flag, and it flew until July 4th of 1818, 23 years. Now, the next official flag caused a problem because in 1818, there were 6 new states added to the Union: Tennessee, Ohio, Louisiana, Indiana, Mississippi, and there was no room for additional stripes. So the Congress passed a resolution that all future flags should contain in the blue field 1 star for every state, and that the number of stripes be regulated to 13 red and white stripes representing the original colonies. Now that particular flag was a 20-star flag by the addition of the 6 states, and it only lasted 1 year as our official flag because Illinois in 1819 was added to the Union, making the number of stars 21. That flag lasted 1 year. And then Alabama and Maine were admitted in 1820. And of course we know that many states have been added until we have today, 50 states. And to recognize the addition of new states, 27 official United States flags have been unfurled. And because of the resolution of the Congress, it was also declared that a new flag would be issued after a state was admitted to the Union on the 4th of July. And so we have a great number of flags, 21, 23, 26, 30, 36, which was 1859 when Oregon was added, 40, 46, that included Utah and Wyoming as the new states, and then 48 with Arizona and New Mexico added to the flag, and then now our 50-star flag representing Hawaii and Alaska. Well, I want to thank you for watching this program, and I hope you learned something. If you need to contact me with a question about flags, I'm always open to receiving emails at the address of mwallig@cox.com.